Happy Lord's Day to you. Um, as you can see, I'm not behind the pulpit tonight. Um, and I'm sorry for not letting you guys know about this. This is not a service. Um, I was in the ER most of the day today. I had a back attack yesterday and was in a lot of pain. So I had to go to the VA and get on some meds. And you guys know that I will not preach the word of God on drugs. So that's why I'm not behind the podium tonight. I'm just here in an informal talk, giving, yeah, just an informal talk. I will be giving my testimony tonight. I try to give it once a year, people who are new, and even for people who aren't new, because your testimony is going to evolve as you go through this Christian walk. You should know that there are some times when I give my testimony where I feel like I've made all this progress and I'm walking with the Lord and everything's going good. And then there are other times where I give my testimony, I feel like I've gone backwards. Not backwards from when I was saved, but when I gave my other times when I've given my testimony. I also wanted to give you my testimony tonight because we're starting a forging tomorrow. And some men and women, not a lot of you, I wish there was more who had the courage to do it with us. I've heard a lot of, I'm busy talk. And yeah, God doesn't care if you're busy. You're busy and you're so busy. In fact, that's a sin. So you better make time for Him. And, this forging process is just a fancy name for deliberate Christian living. And that's what we all should be doing. Because if you don't do something deliberate, you suck at it. I don't want to suck at the thing that is most important. That's my relationship with Jesus, my testimony in Him, and the authenticity and sincerity of my walk that must bear fruit. But man, we got a forging going tomorrow, and I'm going into it broke. I want to be leading from the front in the gym and crushing it. But we all have to learn how to lead when things aren't going right. We all have to learn that we're still accountable to the Lord and we should still be doing this Christian walk, this Christian life when the world's on fire. There's no excuse for not doing this. So I had a really big pity party for myself past 48 hours. I'm not proud of who I was during that time, and I've already repented to my wife and my children. A lot of tears. When you're in pain, your tempers, your fuse is a lot shorter. And your speech filter, mine anyways, becomes not so good. So I wanted to come here tonight and tell you that why there was no service tonight, and then to make lemonade out of lemons to give my testimony, and to let you know that I'm not rolling into this challenge tomorrow, which I'm extremely excited about because my wife's doing it, my mom's doing it, I'm doing it, and there are some very close people I care about that I know that are doing it. And that if I can do it, the wheels coming off, I can't think of a better tool or time to put the wheels back on, or a better remedy to my struggles, which are physical, but also spiritual. So, I've given my testimony, I don't know how many times. Every time it comes out different things come into mind and focus, and parts that were really important in the beginning, as my walk goes on, seem less important now. And the things that I'm going through recently seem really important to me now, but that's just because that's me. It's because it's realer to me, and the Lord is kind and makes you forget all the hurts. One thing that's important about testimony, so you should never glorify your sin when you do your testimony. You're looking back at your life and looking at things that you did, whether it was drug use or premarital sex and violence and victimization, or everything that you did that is the opposite of what you should be doing as a Christian. You should never be glorifying those things. The other thing that we have to realize is that when we tell our testimony, often we can re-traumatize the people who are a part of that testimony. So when you're giving your testimony publicly like this and not privately, one-on-one around a fire, you can go really deep and have no filters. And those are very, very powerful testimonies. But when you trust somebody with your previous sin, you trust somebody with something you're struggling with or have struggled with, the person who's listening to that, don't you dare ever throw that in their face. Don't you dare throw that in their face. What I mean by throw that in the face, you can call them on it, and you should call them on it when they're doing it wrong, but it should be in a godly way. Not in jibes, not in ribbing, not in joking, not in whatever. If someone is sinning, and you know it to be a sin, and you know the chapter and verse, bring it to them, show them, and let them repent for it. If they're trying to break that sin pattern, they're working through that sin pattern, and they're, repentant for it, don't you dare throw it at them. All right? Unless you have no sin. As Jesus said, he who has no sin, let him cast the first stone, right? So the first thing I want to let you know is I'm a human. No, that's a surprise, right? And I'm a human, and I hope you didn't come here because you think that I got this Christian walk and I'm walking it out flawlessly, because I'm not. The good news is I have the answer to everything, and the answer to everything is, Jesus, A. Like, think of a multiple choice test. The answer to everything is always A, Jesus. I don't, even when I know that answer in my struggles in my life, I don't always circle A, Jesus. Often I circle B, Jason's way. And Jason's way is always wrong. Jesus' way is always right. So I ask that you give me grace in my testimony. and compassion. As a man, as a pastor, as a friend, as a husband, as a father, as a son, brother, whatever else I can be, I don't know, whatever. I am going to fail you. I am just a human, and I am going to fail you at times. So don't think that I am this flawless thing. I'm not. I am in this battle, and I am in this fight just like you. So, again, all I ask is for your grace, your ear, and understand that this is important to know who you're fighting beside. We're going into a 91-day challenge, but we're also going in, walking this life out together for as long as we're in each other's lives. And I want you to know whose shield you're locking with. One, so you can know where my strengths are, where you can really know that I got you, and then you can know where my weaknesses are. And maybe you have to guard me there. So I was the first in my family to break the generational curse of atheism, paganism, I don't know what I amism in my family. And there was multiple generations of sin and brokenness and death. Alcoholics on all sides of me, multi-generational alcoholics on all sides of me, felons. My mom got pregnant at 15 with me, had me when she was 16. My dad was 17 and 18. His dad had him when he was 18, and his dad had him, I think, when he was 18. So my great-great-grandfather they were all fathers by 18. My grandfather on my other side was an orphan, a notorious orphanage on my mother's side in Newfoundland. The Catholic priest raped and tortured the kids, and he told me that was all true with tears in his eyes. There's a movie about it, The Boys of St. Vincent's. So, grew up poor, a welfare family. My mom did the best she could. She was as broken as they are, and we got her baptized here. Baptized her at 67 because she's been here. She's 69 now. I think she's been saved for 2 years. She's come so far. I'm so proud of her. We had a family that loved us. I never doubted that she loved me, or my grandparents who basically raised me loved me. They were all broken all over the place. They had no idea what real love was, what godly love was, anyways. And so again, on paper, in appearance, they did the best they could without knowing God, which means that they fell extremely flat because they didn't do their primary job, which is to pass on their Christian identity to us. They didn't have one, right? So they had what secularism defined their morals, and society defined their morals. I was exposed to drugs at a very, very early age. Never really got into them. My dad was a stoner for my entire childhood, in and out of prison. Parents got divorced shortly after they were remarried, or after they were married. Mom got remarried. Bounced back and forth with my mom and my grandmother, depending on her situation. And two more kids. My mom had two more kids. My middle brother, who had Down syndrome, and my youngest brother, Ryan. And this is where I acquired my first wound when my mom, dad got divorced. My dad went away, and you acquire that father wound, which so many of us have who come from divorced families, right? I and myself have done this to my son from my previous marriage, who has autism, and he's with his mom. So that wound, that abandonment wound that happens, my father did that. And then my mother caught her husband cheating on her and another woman in her second marriage. She sent me back to my grandparents to live, so it tore my wound back open. Gave up my middle brother, Brandon, for adoption because he had Down syndrome and she was on welfare. And one of the memories I remember is she didn't have enough money to pay for the heat, and it was freezing cold in the winter in Boston. We slept on the kitchen floor, the oven door open, because that's the only heat we had in the house. It must have been an electric stove, or everyone back then had a oil heating in Boston, so I think that's what the deal was. So seeing my brother go away, it really jacked me up, and I went down a dark hole. I remember seeing child psychologists. Also around this time, I was diagnosed with autism. My mom kept my little brother. So of course, that made me hate my little brother because my mom loved him more than me. She thought she was doing the right thing, giving one of us to our grandparents. And, but that's never ever the case. Understand that. It's never the case. So that wound got tore back open. Okay. And hey, Andy. And so, I did like everyone did. Didn't have a lot of money. Went into school, encountered bullies, kind of became an anti-bully, started throwing myself into weights and learning how to fight. Started trying to become a tough kid. You could either, to be popular, you could have money and be cool, you could be on the football team, or you could be the toughest kid around. I tried to be one of those. Started hanging out with older guys and all that, and fell in love with my first girlfriend. And if you had asked me what I could count on, I would have said sun rising and setting, this person, and I don't know, taxes, right? Death and taxes. Hey, Linda, good to see you. And when that broke up, John Eldridge talks about this a lot. My father wound, which was already abandoned from my father, my mother, my grandparents. I would go back and forth because my mom got remarried a third time, moved in, and just, again, she did the best she could. I love her very much. Then when this person left me, that was a hurt that I've never, ever, 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 ever experienced in my life. it was the most real thing. You guys know your first heartbreak, right? When you got an abandonment wound from that, it just destroyed my heart. And I said, okay, never again. I'm not going to be hurt again. I am going to, my goal would be to rack up as many girlfriends as I can, my body count. And before they could cheat on me or do anything to me, I would rack up as many behind their back. So when that happened, I could be like, ha. So there became a serial cheater, a serial liar. And really became a part of who I am. To also back up, I told you I was diagnosed with dyslexia, I think in first grade. I was kept back a year. And really struggled on some things. And then at about, I want to say it was fourth grade, before I went into fourth grade, I discovered a game through, again, friends are everything, right? Bad friends who can tell. So they, the same house that was doing all the drugs, there was tons of drugs in their house. You could smell weed everywhere. That's where all the porn mags were, right? I mean, that's where we had all that. And then they introduced me to a game called Dungeons and Dragons, which is a role-playing game invented by Gary Gygax in the early 70s. And because of that game, I went from 2 grades below in reading, 2 grades above in one summer. So I made up 4 years in one summer from a stupid game, but it didn't come without a cost. You see, this game was written by a bunch of depraved minds, and it's run by a bunch of people who typically are very broken. And it opened the way to sympathy for the devil, demons. Then, of course, started listening to most vile, angry music on the planet because I was angry. So that's who I was. Right? But I always wanted to be this knight in shining armor. I'll never forget, there's a picture in the player's handbook, first edition, of what's called a paladin, which is a holy knight in shining armor, his shield and his shining sword. And he's this white crack of, it's a black and white picture, but it's this tear in the space, in the reality. And he stepped through this, and he's in hell, killing devils and demons. And I'm like, man, that's who I want to be. So my soul already wanted that. I had no idea how to get there. Now, during my time, all my friends, a lot of my friends were Catholics, and they were all going to CCD every Sunday. And I went to some of their communions and all this stuff. And the priest freaked me out. This is before I knew my grandfather. They were just creepy, creepy dudes. The whole thing felt very cultish to me. And these friends were doing worse things than I were. And they were like Catholics going through this. So I didn't really see any change. I didn't encounter a born-again Christian, a true born-again Christian, until maybe the military. So fast forward, I know I'm taking a long time. I'm sorry. Heart gets broken, hanging out with bigger guys, working out, getting jacked, do steroids. I'm really big. And I start bouncing in a nightclub lying about my age. I start getting paid, and I start hanging out with older gals. Drop out of school the beginning of 2 months into 10th grade, sign myself out. Get a job bouncing again at that club. And then I'm also working in the Teamsters Union. I got a job at the Teamsters Union at 18, loading trucks for a company that no longer exists called Jordan Marsh. So now I'm making really good money. And we're talking, this is 80, 88, and I'm making 20 something bucks an hour. 88, that was really good money. And heck, they're still not making that in some places in the South. But anyways, I'm off into full punkhood. I'm a complete mess. I'm a horrible person. Oh, I think I just hit something and froze my camera. Oh, please, dear Lord, don't do this to me. Let me see if I toggle it off and on if it comes back. I think I just whacked it with my coffee cup. Come on, where? Can't even get to that screen now. Sorry, people. There we go. Let's see if it comes back. Can you guys still hear me? All right, I just restarted. I don't know, could you guys tell me what the last thing you heard was, or if you heard it all? If anyone's watching still. But so anyways, I was dealing drugs, doing drugs, you know, just a toilet. And womanizing. Just an awful individual. Okay, thank you, Linda. I appreciate it. Then I got laid off from Jordan Marsh. So actually, the drug part didn't come till after that. So I got laid off from Jordan Marsh, and I lost my high-paying job. I had a car payment, an apartment, leather couch, everything I had to pay for because I was a complete moron. Okay. And now I have to throw parties and sell drugs to pay the bills. And I'm lucky I'm here. Finally, one day went off of my head. I was 20. Okay, so there's 20 in my head. And I'm like, if I keep doing this, I'm going to end up dead or in jail. Too many close calls. I wanted to be a hero, and here I am. I'm a loser. So I decided I was going to redeem myself because I always loved my country. Boston wasn't the secular hellhole it is now. Because of the rich history there, I loved the forefathers. I walked by John Quincy Adams and John Adams' house all the time. I mean, I've been on the Freedom Trail countless times, the Constitution, Plymouth Rock. Like, that was part of my DNA being there. And so I decided I was going to serve the military. So went in and joined the military, tried to join the Marines because I had a GED. Okay. And they told me they weren't taking GEDs. They were downsizing the military. They wouldn't take me. So then I'm like, okay, I'll go try to be a Green Beret because Rambo was out at that point. They wouldn't take me. So I'm like, okay, what am I going to do? I'll try the Navy. I'm like, no, I'm not going to be on a ship with a bunch of dudes. This is before cohabitation and all that stuff. So I'm like, or Air Force. I go to knock on the door. They weren't even working. They were like never there. I'm like, well, my friend of mine that made it out of the neighborhood, he was a CB and he got to carry a gun. He did construction. He was making good money out now, like driving a crane, whatever. So I'm like, well, I'll do that. So I go to the Navy. They wouldn't take me. They said, give me your number. And a special program calls up. We'll call you. So they call me 3 months later. Say a program just opened up. Come down, take the ASVAB. We want to see how dumb you are. So I go down there and I smoke the ASVAB. Now everyone's calling me. I told them all pound sand. The Navy's the only one who gave me the time of day. I'm going to talk to them first, and then I'll go from there. So long story short, I went in, and I signed up to be a SEAL on the dive fair program, and I went in there. Okay. And went through, became, just condense this a lot. Went to boot camp in Orlando, went to Great Lakes, for A school, which was a corpsman. That was my source rating back then. I was a corpsman. Then went to Coronado, tried to class up with 191, and then eventually classed up with 193, but got stress fractures, got injured, and got sent to the hospital for 18 months. And then came back to Buds again and classed up with 203. Now, during this time, I'm in San Diego, and I am still a complete knucklehead. My job is still to fill that hole with everything that I can. Partying, fighting, camaraderie. Like, I figured the SEAL teams, like, man, I joined them because I figured, well, everyone else betrayed me. Maybe they won't. Those guys will stand by me. So, and I'm jumping all over the place here, guys. I'm sorry. So, anyways, I go through 203, have an awesome time, awesome class. Met some of my best friends in my life there, and went through Hell Week with basically a broken leg. Made it through Hell Week. I had a stress fracture that I took to a complete fracture, and so I got rolled to 205. Graduated 205, like June of 1996. And during this time, I'm telling you, I am a complete. Yes, I was a good friend to guys, but women I had no loyalty to. Lied, cheated, steal, did everything. Steal, not steal. That's but lie and cheat like crazy. So that's the end of the story, right? Became a Navy SEAL, life's all good. No. Got married, fell apart. Made the same mistakes over and over. Kept trying to fill this God-shaped hole in my chest with camaraderie, women, partying lifestyle, adrenaline, and I was still so miserable, still so broken. When I was on my last deployment to Iraq, came back. While I was in there, I passed a kidney stone on my birthday. The day we landed in Iraq on my birthday. And, so I'm in the Terrat high on morphine, first day in Iraq, going on the most dangerous road in all of Iraq. Storm came in, we almost wiped out, whatever. All good, made it there. Go in, and they start looking around my kidneys, and they're like, hey, we found a mass in your kidney, then we found a mass in your adrenal gland, and it looks like we found a mass on your lungs. You might have some serious problems. And I said, I'll deal with it when I come back. And during this, if I'm getting my timelines right, it's so hard looking through history. I lost my little brother to heroin. I lost my aunt who was like a second mother to me, to an accidental drug overdose. Lost my brother to heroin. Went to his funeral. Yeah, this is coming up. My timeline just clicked because it made sense in the story. So, anyways, there I am. They think I got cancer. Right. Finish my deployment. I come back, and they send me to shore duty to get well. Hey, got something wrong going on with you. So they sent me to Panama City, Florida. I'm married. Go get some shore duty. Okay. And go down to Panama City, Florida. And I think I'm dying. Right? I think I'm dying. So I start partying like a rock star. I'm not going to burn in some 130-pound turd. I'm going to go down there. It was an easy duty station, partying like a rock star down there. Marriage is burning in. And here I am thinking, I'm like, I'm not going to come to God. Someone's like, what about God? I'm like, no, I'm not coming to God weak. That's what I said. I'm not coming. Like, how arrogant and how stupid is this? Not coming to God weak. If I beat this cancer, then maybe I'll consider him. And it's like so stupid, so arrogant, so unwise, so awful. It turns out they removed my adrenal gland and I don't have cancer. Right. So I'm like, okay, whatever. During this time, or in and around this time, my brother dies. I go to his funeral. And again, be merciful, 6 months, give or take, from around there on. It's all blurry at this point. Probably should get these dates locked down. But my brother dies of heroin, and I go to his funeral, and none of his friends are there. And I asked them, they're all Ryan's friends. And one of his friends who was there said, Jay, they're all dead, lost to heroin. So I said, okay, this is it. I'm done. While I was in the SEAL teams, I was trying to make a decision what I'm going to do in my life. I was over 12, 13 years at this point. Like, what am I going to do in my life? Am I going to stay in? Am I going to do 20? Everyone who says you should do 20, but for me, it was never about money. Never done anything for money ever. It's always been about the mission. So that last deployment, I had a calendar, and every day that I loved my job and I was happy to be there, or it was okay, I gave a check mark. And every day that it wasn't, I gave it a red X. By the end of that year, it wasn't even close. It was like 2-1, negative versus positive. I decided after my brother died that I was going to go join the Boston Police Department and fight the war on drugs at home instead of going and making third world countries safe. So I decided I'm going to do that. I'd go take the Boston Police Department test. I think I beat out 20,000 people to get in that job because it's a high-paying job. I had to cut near 100 on the score with veterans preference, and still I wasn't picked first. People with different skin colors who cut 70s were chosen above me. I got on. Marriage was completely dissolving. We decided to go our own separate ways. She was going to go to Charlottesville, Virginia, and I went to Boston. So I go to Boston. I'm going through the police academy. And police academy was whatever, 6 months. Right before I left there, book made its way into my life while I was still in Panama City, Florida. This is really important. And it's a book called I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist. It's written by Frank Turek and Geisler. That book is the first time ever in my life where someone presented the case for creationism to me. And it dissolved all my arguments. It was the first time anyone ever shared the gospel with me. And as an atheist, in the military, I was this Christian slayer. We were in Hell Week and guys were praying, and I'd yell at them and say, no one's doing this for you. You're doing it yourself. Lauren, if you could text my mom and tell her I'm still on air. But that we're still on for tonight. So I would search them out, and I would make them open up their Bibles. They had one, and I'd say, "Oh, you believe this?" And I'd make them defend six-day creation. You believe this? I'd make them defend Jonah and the whale. I'd make them defend all these things, and none of them could defend it. None of them. But there was a couple guys in the teams. One was Todd Peters, who actually put me through dive phase. And he was a Christian, and he's one of the breadcrumbs in my life. And then I deployed them alongside them. They were a sister platoon, and again had some conversations with him that he could answer. He's a pastor now up in Virginia, and there were several others. But man, I tried to shatter all their faiths, and anyone who listened to me, I tried to break their faith because I thought what they did was horrible, crazy, irrelevant, and I was the one who was horrible. I remember a man's faith who shook or contributed to shaking, and he walked away from faith for many years. He called me recently after I've been trying to win him back. He's now back in the faith, and I was just like so thankful because that's the one that I knew that I had played a big role in, and I'm just so glad that he came back. Marcus, thank you. God bless you. And this book comes into my life, and it completely blows away all my arguments. Now I feel like a moron because I see that I need more faith to believe in atheism, nothing, than intelligent design. So the first half of the book, third of the book, I go from atheist, meaning I don't believe in any deity, to agnostic, which means I believe in a creator and I just don't know who or what it is. Then the case for Christianity goes in there, and it's phenomenal. And it's the most evidence-based faith in the world, or in the universe. So now I'm a Christian. I go to a Methodist church, and I'm joining the Alpha class. Okay. Me and the wife are still going separate ways. Things still awful. Go to Boston, go to Park Street Church. Bostonians coming up. Go to Park Street Church, which was great because they had Gordon Hugenberger there, who's one of the brightest minds in Christianity. Open up your ESV. He's one of the guys who wrote the commentaries, I think, on Judges. Great guy. And it was a great place for me to go as what I call a intellectual Christian. So now I'm an intellectual Christian, but I haven't read the Bible, right? I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I know enough religion to where I can do whatever I want, and I just have to pray it away before I die. So a carnal Christian. And I go there, and Gordon is right what I needed at this time. He was not afraid of science. He had the heads of many college professors from MIT, Harvard, Boston College, Boston University. All those guys came to this church, and the head of MIT physics and science department. So he couldn't get lazy in the Old Testament, especially with the creation. But I was not spirit-filled yet. I was not. It didn't happen to years later. So, get in Boston. I'm on the SWAT team. I got a motorcycle. And I'm still turd. Right. The ex, well, not an ex yet, comes up and wants to try to make another go at it. Try. End up having my son Connor, who had autism, and my newfound faith could not handle that. my newfound faith ran into the buzzsaw of my kid being different, and I didn't have enough underneath me, and I just rebelled even more. Broke every commandment that you can think of. Decided, because my son had autism, to leave the job in Boston, which was a very well-paying job. My wife at that time was making very good money in Boston as well, but decided to move to Charlottesville, Virginia. Had friends and family at Virginia Institute of Autism there to help my son. We went there, and I got a job bodyguarding one of the richest men in the world. Worth 52 billion when I was with him, and I think he's worth over 100 billion now. Do 30 days on, 30 days off. And my marriage, which was miserable before, with autism, was even worse now. And that blew up. I meet Lauren. I started in December of 2012. Sandy Hook happened, and an autistic kid walked in and killed a bunch of first, second graders, teachers. And I decided, hey, I just want to bodyguard a billionaire who could afford 1,000 of me. I wanted to save as many kids as I could. I started Trident Shield later, 2013. Got a job also there being a rural cop with Albemarle County. It was the worst job I've ever had. Anybody you can do it, policing in Albemarle County, God bless you. You should try really being a cop somewhere else, because that job is hell. Left there, did Trident Shield, opened up a gym, said, met Lauren. Lauren's an atheist. I am in my crisis of faith. A friend of mine came to war for me. His name is Mike Ferruggio. Mike Ferruggio recognized that I was still hurting. He was a Christian. He tried to get me to move to Charlottesville as a cop for another police department. And he told me about this program called ORW, Operation Restored Warrior. Talked to me about it for forever, and I just wouldn't go. Finally, he got me to go. Now, before I go, Lauren and I are serious. You guys didn't know, Lauren proposed to me, and then I returned the favor. I said, hey, I can't do this 1 foot in Christianity, 1 foot out. I can't unsee what I know. I got to figure it out. So I went to ORW, which was in Lake Tahoe. God did that because it wasn't always there. And I would go to prison in Lake Tahoe. That's how much I love that place. So I go there and I encounter the real Jesus. Lauren will tell you, before she left, she was like, we're going to get rid of this Jesus guy. No, so actually before RW. So we would spend, she had a college degree in animal behavior, which is a bachelor in science. So she went to school all the way through, so 16 years now. So she had 16 years of indoctrination in the schools. I only had 9. So Lauren, we were there debating macro evolution to the wee hours of the morning, looking at pictures of the design of a hand, a wing, and a fin. And Lauren is such a good listener. And just, those of you who don't know her, she's amazing. But she'll tell you in her testimony that she said, yeah, we're going to get rid of this Jesus nonsense. And I'm going to pull them into my camp of atheism. So I go to RW. RW changed my life. I meet masculine Jesus for the first time. Not the pretty, scrawny dude, but the man with rough hands who works stone, is a bricklayer and a carpenter. I started reading more passages about masculine Christianity. I read John Eldridge's Wild at Heart as a prerequisite of that, and ORW is based on those works. And I became a true spirit-filled Christian at that moment. I was born again. I was baptized once, sprinkled, in Boston with my son Connor, back when I was a carnal Christian, or cerebral Christian, I guess you would say. But I hadn't been immersion baptized. So I get saved, and I know my primary mission is I have to get Lauren saved. So we come back, I come back, I call Lauren, which I'm not supposed to, I'm still a rule breaker. And I tell her, she'll tell you hands down that my voice changed from pre-saved to being saved. The tension in my voice, the anger in my voice, just was gone. I'm like, I got to get Lauren saved. So I convene a small group in my house, all my other Christian friends that are couples, with the sole mission of getting Lauren saved. We didn't tell her that's what it was about, but that's what it was for. We end up doing this, and we find out that everyone's marriage is in crisis. Just about everyone's there. So we roll into a Bible series called Love and War by John Eldridge. It's a fantastic marriage study, right? Course that you kind of go through together and ask questions, and it was really, really good. And we were able to keep those marriages together, bandage them up, help them there. That's where Lauren fell in love with the beauty of what a Christian marriage is supposed to be. Reciprocal kindness and serving and sacrifice to one another. So after a year, Lauren is still not a Christian. So finally, where I lost my patience, I said, that's it. You're never going to become a Christian. I'm giving up. And I can't believe I didn't try reverse psychology before. And she's like, well, what do you mean? How do you know I'm not there? I'm like, because I keep asking you. And she's like, well, how do you know I'm not there? I'm like, are you there? She's like, yeah, I am there. So anyways, Lauren is the most stubborn person in the history of the world. I honestly believe that there is nobody who could be more stubborn than my wife. So we both get immersion baptized at a church in Charlottesville. Very Christian-like church. And we began during this whole process, around like 2 years of church hopping, trying to find a masculine pastor. And it took me 6 years to find a masculine pastor. I found him in Maine. So here I am. I'm a Christian, reading my Bible, trying to find a masculine pastor when I find Ken Graves up in Maine. And he was the straw that broke the back to saying, okay, we're moving to Maine. Because COVID had just kicked off. My business, Trident Shield, was just like the whole industry. We took a 90% loss to revenue. Put many of my competitors out of business. No schools, no workplaces, no need for active shooter training or security consulting. We go to Maine, and I fall in love with Ken. We become friends. And all I wanted to do was stay there at Ken's feet and learn from him and grow in that amazing community that he has up there. And I got to see what true discipling looks like. Ken lives this stuff all the time, passes on his identity to not only his family, But all these drug addicts and everything that comes through his 1 year treatment program, residential discipleship there, turns junkies into pastors. It's amazing. Hooker junkies into worship leaders. And I got to see what it looks like to really be a man of God. And I was all in. But we couldn't sell our house in Virginia. I'm going to try to make this shorter. Got a date with my mom to have a few cocktails after this. And house didn't sell. We had to move back, and now I'm shattered because all I wanted to be was Ken Graves was like my spiritual father. And he was like the real dad I never had. I just loved him, and it was amazing. I got other plans. So we came back to Virginia. Our house that should have sold in a week didn't sell in 6 months. Now I'm like, what am I going to do? I had to get out of Virginia. So we looked at places, and landed in Tennessee. Made the most sense. Drove through, fell in love with Johnson City. We've been here ever since. Came down here to Johnson City. The intention of opening up men's ministry. Started as Patriot Crusader Mission. I wanted to take patriots, first responders, and veterans, turn them into crusaders for God, and send them on a mission. That's what this was supposed to be. Start that, and then I found out that most women, their state of affairs are just as bad as men, if not worse. So now we're training men and women how to be Christian warriors. Thought I'd find a fire-breathing church in every corner. Found a Calvary church here, being groomed to take it over someday. Step into that role. Went to a Calvary Calvary pastors conference, and it was so disgusting, the cowardice there, and I walked out at the end of the day. Walked out. Second day. And so decided church shop here some more. Couldn't find anything. And so we started our own church. And we changed it to Christian Warrior Mission instead of Patriot Crusader Mission because people didn't feel cool enough to come to Patriot Crusader Mission. They felt like they had to be a veteran. I have a heart for veterans. I speak to veterans. I speak to first responders. I speak to alpha males. I speak to beta males who want to become alpha. I speak to my shield maidens out there. And my theology has really, what I believe the Bible says, and stances on issues has really grown from borderline charismatic of Calvary Chapel under Ken Graves to more to reformed, thanks to R.C. Sproul and Doug Wilson, Bodie Bauckham, Paul Washer, and others. And that kind of put me on an island because we're down here in Baptist heaven where I don't mind having a cocktail. I don't think you're going to go to hell if you have drinks. You shouldn't be getting drunk, obviously, but if you can't drink and be in the ministry, then tell that to Jesus who drank wine and all the disciples. You don't have a faith anymore. But anyways, we started this church. We've been doing this since. Started. COVID hit. No, it's not COVID, but Ukraine hit, and we saw the price of food go through the roof. Inflation was going nuts. So we started a farm. Instead of building the biggest church we could build here, we decided to build an ark. And our ark was cattle, hogs, chickens, turkeys. And when we first came down here to do this, we thought that everybody would want to do this. Had to be a line out the door to join us in our ghetto little church sanctuary that we made in our 2-car garage. That's where we do church, folks. Like you're not joining some high dollar thing here or following some high dollar thing. We are in our 2-car garage that we converted into a sanctuary that we thought we would have outgrown by now. You know, I've had this place full, I think almost maybe 2-3 times and emptied it. Hard preaching. And then that's the part that I want to talk about now. In my testimony, there's some struggle. Never been lonelier than I have been as a Christian. My atheist friends and my pagan friends, their loyalty is so deep. And Christian friends, it's so fickle. I can say one thing in the Bible that we may disagree on, and all of a sudden you're not my friend anymore. I don't understand that. I understand if there's some, like, if you want to kill babies and you think killing babies is cool and you want to be my friend, we're not cool. I don't hang out with evil. But how you choose to worship, whether you think we're pre-mill, post-mill, on-mill, you know, continuationist or cessationist, most of you don't even know what I'm talking about here. But I have lost so many friends over that, and nobody wants to be held accountable. That dudes show up here that like want to lead men into greatness in their own families or catastrophes. I'm like, fix your family first, and then we can talk about it. Fix your family and teach other guys how to fix theirs. That's the number one problem that we all have. There's some wisdom in Catholicism where they don't let priests have families because families are really hard. Really hard. But we came down here, and our first round of people that really believed us were so helpful. They helped us build, you know, Woody and crew came in and helped us build everything, you know, in here, helped us build all of our fencing and got our cattle operation up and running. Donated the first 2 cows. So thankful for them. Wish they would come back. I miss them terribly. I miss deep friendships, and I just don't seem to be able to find them in Christianity because it's such a freak show. Christianity can be such a freak show, man. Meet someone, you hit it off, and then all of a sudden, they believe some crazy stuff, or they're just crazy. Crazy and intolerant anybody who isn't as crazy in that one thing that they care about. Now, you know, Lauren and I have been here, came down here with B. Yaya was born here on the farm, all natural. B was all natural, but in a hospital. Yaya was born here on the farm in a tub, livestock tub, here with a midwife. Then Gus was born. Gus's delivery did not go well. He came early. Was supposed to be in a home birth. Didn't progress. Spoke with Lauren. We pulled the plug on staying home. Went to the hospital. And to make a long story short, Lauren almost died. Did what's called placenta accreta, which is where the placenta grows into the uterus, and it's a mandatory emergency C-section and hysterectomy because most women will die with it. You don't do that. We went in there, and it was a very dark night, and baby was born fine. Lauren was boss, and then she just wouldn't stop bleeding. Then I watched them torture her. And when she wheeled her away, I didn't think I was ever going to see her again. I don't know how many units of blood she took, but it was an ungodly amount. And I spent my night on my knees, praying to God to bring my wife back to me. I had a lot of problems going into that day. None of them got mattered until, except for Lauren coming back. I had one of my friends who doesn't return my phone calls anymore, and I don't know why. He came and stood there after working a full day, a hard day, came and spent the night with me at the hospital on his knees with me. I'll forever be grateful to that, and that's why I still chase that friendship. Came out of there, and someone had hit my brand new truck, the parking lot, left the scene. I didn't care. My wife was alive. That's all I cared about. So that began the hardest year of our life. Business was tough. Farm was tough. Lauren being almost dying and coming out of that. My health started degrading. I had my knees get so bad I did a knee replacement. I had a hard 6-month recovery on that. Rolled that into a massive back attack that knocked me down for a long time because I didn't have the VA didn't treat it properly. Into a really bad batch of COVID. And now, past 5-6 months, we've been on doing great. You know, health's been doing better. Working out, not full tilt, but working out mostly, and all that. As you guys know, we've been doing Bible studies in the morning and war council, and tomorrow starts forging. It's so darn important for me that I do this. Before I close out my testimony, I just want to focus on something. I had a lot of you come up to me, reach out to me, and I'm thankful for this. People that I've known for 20 years, 10 years, whatever, not my Christian friends, or they may have differing views of Christianity. They may lean one way or another. And they come to me because I believe my faith journey is I'm transparent. There are a lot of pastors who get up on stage and act like they got their life straight. They don't. Most of them don't. They all struggle with sin. We all struggle with sin. Anyone who says who doesn't has blinders on. I don't preach that way. There are days I go up there and I feel unworthy to speak because I was not the best Christian I could be, because I was not deliberate, and I'm struggling in all kinds of areas in my life. People who focus on non-behavioral things in Christianity, people who focus on prophecy, tend to have the worst walks I have ever seen. Their family's a mess, they're a mess, everything's going all different way, and they spend all their time. I have countless people that I'm washing up on my shore dealing with prophecy, worrying about what God's going to do, and they want to decipher the tea leaves on that. Meanwhile, what the part that they're responsible for, their walk, passing on their Christian identity, serving others, not themselves, but others, and discipling their family, is where they are struggling. It's easy to focus on something that you can't do anything about. There's no measurement there. Let God do God, and you work on what you can do. What can you work on? Your behavior and who you are going to help save. That's all I want you to focus on while you're with me. Now, we may grow out of that. The day where my sanctification comes and I feel like, wow, sin is no problem to me, and this and that. No. We must focus on the gospel and what our behaviors are. It is fun to talk about eschatology. It is fun to talk about the age of the earth. It is fun to talk about all these things that people divide over. We must focus on salvation issues. That is where I find myself trying to ally with more and more people. You can join our 91-day challenge, even if you don't agree with anything I say in faith, but just do your faith challenge, hold each other accountable, and be there. You don't have to watch a single one of my sermons. You don't have to do the Bible study. You don't have to do anything that to even hear me talk. Just show up and do what everyone else is doing, and God will bless you in your life because you're deliberately pursuing Him in all aspects of your life. Two days ago, I was riding high. Going into this challenge, I was more motivated than I have ever been, more optimistic than I have ever been. That, man, we are going to crush it. Our family's going to crush it. I'm going to crush it. I'm going to make progress in all aspects of my life to become more godly and more holy. And then my back went out. I'm lying in bed, writhing in pain, sitting in there getting shots and all these drugs to try to make it. And despair descended upon me like I've never felt before. Like, how am I going to lead these guys? Well, I got to walk around with these right now. I got to walk around with these. But I'm going to do it. If I can do a crippled, you can do it with whatever crippled you are. You know, there's fitness in this challenge and there's workouts and all that. Just do something. Walk, stretch. I don't care what you do. Do something. Move. And do harder things as you get better. Eat better so you can be healthier and save more lives. Don't race to heaven. Your work isn't done here. Lord, if you could bring me some more ice water, that'd be great. So, understand that your testimony is going to evolve. And there are going to be seasons when you get up here and you'll be feeling His light and you'll be standing, basking in the Holy Spirit, and it'll feel amazing. And there's going to be other days when you're up here by faith alone. Nothing. The world's going to be on fire. Everything's going to be burning in. That's when you need to have solid Christian friends that are very hard to come by. That'll go to war for you. Surround yourself with people who will take a bullet for you and you for them. Everyone else is optional at best. That's who you change the world with. Now, help as many people as you can. But the people who you let in, people who you invest in, let it be them. All right. Wrapping up now. 5 minutes. So, this is now a part of the 91-day forging. I'm going to leave it in there. It's been streaming there. As well as everywhere else. Now you know who's fighting beside you. I don't feel like that was my best testimony. I know it was over the place. I'm just trying to be as accurate as possible with whatever's being on me. For those of you who found Christianity later in life, like me, I wasted the first half of my life. Make every second count. For those of you who are wondering, can you have happiness late in life? I am happy. I love my wife. I love my children. I like my wife. A 33 AD. You can find happiness in this Christian life by getting with other Christians. But I'm going to tell you, it's going to be the hardest thing you're ever going to do. That selection process is really hard. I'm here to walk through this with you. That's what the War Council is on Wednesday nights. And that's what the group is for. That's what the Patreon page is for. Everything is free. But that's my testimony. Sorry you missed it there. 33 AD Jesus. 33 AD Jesus. But thanks for listening. And I will see you tomorrow at 6 a.m. as we start the Forge. All right. 91 days commitment to one another. I hope you join me. You don't have to be in shape. You don't have to be any stuff. Just show up and do this Christian life. It's all stuff you're supposed to be doing anyways. Just let's do it deliberately together and hold each other accountable. God bless you.